Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Rosie Tanner and I'm the Marketing Coordinator at Italic. Today we are presenting an introduction to cyber resilience, which will be presented by Ellie Semiak, our Mimecast account manager from Mimecast. So I've started a poll to get us going on what security you might be currently using. So if you don't mind just popping in your answer on there, that would be fabulous. And I will are you there, Ellie?
I am indeed. Morning all.
Just having a slight technical glitch at the minute. Are you able to share your screen, Ellie?
Not until the poll's closed.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, so I'll close that poll now.
Perfect. So let me know once you can see my screen.
So yeah, I'll just go through. We've got a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. I can see your screen, by the way, Ellie. Thank you. If you do have any questions during the presentation, please can you type them into the question box in the control panel that you can see on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll be available for answering any questions towards the end of the presentation. So over to you, Ellie.
Thanks so much, Rosie. So good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining today's webinar. So today we're going to be going through an introduction to cyber resilience. And to kind of kick that all off, we're really going to focus on three key areas today. Appreciate there's a lot of Zoom and webinar fatigue, so we have been asked to condense this down a little bit. So we're going to focus on the Cybersphere, so why Italic have asked Mimecast to join together and to build together this webinar for yourselves, who Mimecast are and how we can help. And then at the end of the webinar, we'll be able to answer any questions and talk to you about the kind of next steps. So I thought I'd start off by setting the scene really with the Cybersphere today. So what we've got are four very different areas, but these are common threats that our prospects and customers are seeing at the moment. So what we've done from a little bit of market research is that we found 94% of all cyber attacks start with an email. On top of that, what we also found was 91% of malware uses the web to complete its mission. Over 90% of breaches involve employee error. And Office 365 unfortunately leaves a couple of gaps, leaving some customers vulnerable to some levels of attacks. So what we really wanted to showcase from this, especially today, is that all attacks can come from all different areas, whether it be email and web, or as a result of employee error, or to do with your current environment. So with these kind of attacks, they tend to come from different areas. And what we've seen a huge increase on is a lot of social engineering based attacks designed for specific end users that may be more passionate around certain areas. For example, coronavirus, COVID-19, I'm sure you're all sick of hearing that. But it's really important that we're focusing on capturing these kinds of attacks. I mean, Black Lives Matter movement has been huge in the media the last couple of years. Brexit, the 2020 US election. And what we've noticed is that social engineers don't take any breaks. So why should CISOs and IT teams? The increase in URL attacks we've seen as a result is actually up to 33% now, which is huge over the course of the last year. So what we really wanted to do with these first two introductory slides is to really just paint the scene as to why Italic has asked us to pull together this webinar, because a lot of customers are becoming increasingly concerned about the more advanced attacks that are coming through. So who are Mimecast? So Mimecast have over 40,000 customers worldwide now, but that's as a result of our customer retention rate. So the key areas that we focus on are efficiency, efficacy, and also customer retention. So we want to ensure that customers are happy with our solution and are continuing to leverage us with their growing IT priorities. As a result, we've had to expand globally as well. So we're now up to 14 Mimecast data centers in 7 different countries. So we're one of the only vendors that can guarantee that your data reside in the correct jurisdiction. So a key reason why I wanted to show this slide is because what you'll notice is there isn't anywhere that says 100%. There is no vendor that will be able to guarantee that you'll be protected from all attacks, But what we want to ensure that you're doing is getting the best security vendor, the best archiving vendor, to ensure that the level of efficacy is up there. What you'll find with a lot of different vendors is that they'll do the URL protection, the attachment protection, the impersonation protection. That's how well they do them, which will differentiate between yourselves being attacked and being safe. So this report was, I think, about a year or so old now, but this SD Labs report was really important because what they've done was thrown the same threats at different secure email gateways. Mimecast came out on top with the highest total accuracy rating, and this was specifically around malware-based targeted threats and social engineering attacks, which from the previous slide, you can see that this is the biggest growing rate of attack at the moment. On top of that, although Mimecast is huge in email security, we're really proud to say that we've grown to become one of the biggest backup and recovery for email solutions in the industry today, competing with the likes of Global Relay and Smarsh. So definitely something to look into. But what I really wanted to spend some time going through is how do Mimecast help? So what I'm going to do is go through a really high level of our portfolio. The key areas that we're going to focus on today are ultimately going to be inbound protection, outbound protection, and internal protection. But another really big important part of our portfolio surrounds beyond the perimeter. So our portfolio, you'll see, is broken down into 3 key areas. Zone 1 looks at the perimeter. So we're going to be focusing on what's coming inbound and what's leaving your organization. So we're looking at targeted threat protection, data loss prevention, web security, and archiving. So archiving as soon as the email hits the Mimecast cloud, as soon as it leaves your environment too. However, over 2/3 of mail flow is sent from colleague to colleague. So having a secure email gateway that just monitors inbound and outbound isn't sufficient anymore to be able to protect yourselves from the more advanced threats. So what we've also done is designed a whole portfolio around looking inside the perimeter. So we've got internal email protection, which looks at deploying the security policies you've applied at the gateway internally for your organization too. But also we have threat remediation capabilities, manual and automatic. Awareness training, so providing your end users with the theory, but also simulated phishing attacks to deploy the practice. And to tie that all together, ensuring that you've got 100% uptime SLA as well. I'll go into all of these products in a lot more detail a bit later on. The third area is really surrounding your brand protection. So we've had 2 new acquisitions recently. One is DMARC Analyzer, and the other is brand exploit protection. So we're looking at protecting the domains that you do own and to protect your brand by taking down the domains that you don't own. What we've seen a huge increase on at the moment, where everything's moved to a remote model, is spoofing of brand websites. So we're proactively threat hunting those and taking those down. However, irregardless of what solution you have with Mimecast, a really brilliant benefit is that we have a single admin console, so everything under one pane of glass. So not only does that improve your efficiency, but also your efficacy. But on top of that, it gives you the capability to leverage our APIs and partnerships to have a more consolidated approach. So should you want to, have custom integrations with your SIEMs, your SOARs, your endpoints, your firewalls. I know we have a brilliant relationship with CrowdStrike at the moment, and there's a plethora of those available to view on our website. So that's a really brilliant consolidation piece at no extra cost, and it's just a benefit of being a Mimecast customer. For the sake of today's webinar, I really wanted to dive into a bit more detail around our advanced email security, as I know that's what a lot of you had asked for. So we split our advanced email security into 3 key areas. The first is looking at your inbound. Then we look at the 0-day threats and the unknown threats, and the outbound. So with the inbound, I want to focus on the advanced spam and antivirus, because I appreciate that that's a key driver for a lot of our customers at the moment. So with advanced spam, we have a 99% SLA because spam is subjective. If I was to receive an email from you, look, I'd be very pleased. If you did, I doubt you'd be as pleased. So it's accommodating for that 1 percentile. However, with our antivirus, we have a 100% SLA. So we have 4 key antivirus engines there to help us adhere to that SLA. However, that's all based around known threats. What we really want to be focusing on is the targeted threats, the 0-day attacks, the ones that haven't been seen in the industry before, and what Mimecast does differently to other vendors to be able to ensure that we're preventing those from coming in. What you'll notice on the targeted threat protection box is these 4 key areas, they're not revolutionary. They're what a lot of vendors are doing. It's just how you do them, which is what differentiates. So with our URL protection, for example, we will scan the email that comes in. We will scan the website that link goes to, but we will also rewrite that link. So when you scan over that link, you'll see protect.mimecast ahead of the rest of the domain. But that's not where we stop. So we do two different things. One, we will rescan that website and rewrite that link every single time an end user clicks on it. And also we will follow that link infinitively until it reaches its end destination to ensure it's not malicious. You also have a lot of reporting functionality available because we have something called dynamic user awareness, which is included in your URL protection. So that dynamic user awareness starts to understand the behaviors of your end users. So for those that are more susceptible to clicking on malicious links, and for those that are less susceptible, they will have different levels of pop-ups. For those that are more susceptible, maybe once every 5 clicks, they'll get a pop-up that asks them to look into the email. So it will say, this is the email subject, this is the email link that you've tried to click on. Are you sure you want to proceed, yes or no? If they say yes and it's safe, great, they go straight on. If they think it's safe and it's not, they're blocked. So that dynamic user awareness piece really starts to drive that internal user awareness, the human firewall element, to ensure that you're keeping your organization as safe as possible. But for those that are less susceptible to clicking on the link, maybe the cadence of that pop-up will be less. But as an IT admin, you'll be able to design what that looks like for your organization, maybe once every 5 clicks for those that are more susceptible, once every 15 for those that are less, so on and so forth. With our attachment protection, it works in 2 key different ways. So one is your sandbox, and that's fairly standard within the industry. However, we have something called an emulated sandbox, which means that for those more advanced threats that are designed not to open in a sandboxing environment, we're able to capture those as they won't realize. But as you all know, sandboxing does come with a bit of latency, maybe 20 to 40 seconds to come into an environment. So what we've also designed is something called static file analysis or safe file conversion. So say a Word document comes in, we can take a snapshot of that Word document, convert it into a PDF and send it straight through. And that removes the latency and ensures that that file is safe for an end user to interact with. So they won't be able to click on any macros, access any websites, but they'll be able to read that document and copy and paste. And should they then want the original, they can click on a link to receive the original attachment. But again, because we integrate with your Active Directory, we have a really good understanding of your business needs, so you can be very tailored with that approach. So the sales team could have the static file analysis, the finance team could have the sandbox, or you can consolidate the routes. The most important, in my perspective, pillar of the targeted threat protection is the impersonation. So we were first to market with impersonation protection. It used to be just 5 key indicators that we looked into, but now we're looking into 7. I won't go through all of them today. I'll leave that for a more detailed kind of webinar or detailed demonstration should you want one. But the key things that we're really focusing in on are not only looking for similar names and domains, but also looking for different characters that people are using. So a Turkish C looks identical to an English C. So although you could really train up your human firewall to be able to spot if somebody's sending an email from Mimecast, so an R and an N next to each other looking like an M, but ultimately attackers are getting a lot smarter, leveraging different characters, so it's getting harder to spot. So unlike attachment URLs, there isn't typically anything malicious in that email. It's what they're asking end users to do, which is malicious. So where I mentioned the driver of emotions and passion previously in the Cybersphere, if they thought they were receiving an email from their CEO to urgently action something, they're more likely to do it. So it's really important we're capturing those impersonation attacks to prevent your end users from accidentally doing something and therefore resulting in human error. To tie all of this together, we have our internal email protection. So as I mentioned before, 2/3 of mail is typically sent from colleague to colleague. So if you just have a secure email gateway, you would have to rely on that email coming into your organization or leaving your organization for your security policies to be applied. However, when you're sending an email from colleague to colleague, there isn't anything leaving your organization. So you need to have a journal feed set up so that all those security policies can be applied internally. So if anything malicious is being sent, it's automatically remediated. But also, should there be a data protection leak or HR accidentally send the wrong information to the wrong person, you can manually remediate it. So you can easily leverage our 7-second safe search to find that email. You can find it and remediate it and have a log of that on the admin console should you need to report back to any governing bodies. To tie this advanced email security piece off, we want to really focus on the outbound protection. So a lot of my customers leverage the outbound protection as a cost consolidation piece, really, because with the advanced email security SKU, you also get included stationery. So very basic version of what Exclaimer can do. So we can deploy your names, your job titles, your direct dials, your email address, so on and so forth. But also we can start to put in any marketing banners, any disclaimers, to just ensure that as soon as your email leaves the organization, it's having all of the correct things on that outbound email to protect your brand. What we also look to do is to protect any data leaks. So we have the content control and review, so ensuring that any certain terminology isn't leaving your organization. So it could be to do with a data leak or could to do with your brand protection. So you could set a policy to say no profanities, for example, but also any internal documentation. So we have a fuzzy hashing tool where you can upload a template of a document to the AdCon to say anything with that 80% similarity, for example, ensure this doesn't leave your organization. So as a whole, so far we've covered off known attacks, unknown targeted attacks, internal and outbound attacks, and consolidating that with internal email protection to do any remediation. However, what we've not covered off is the human error element. So what we've noticed is a lot of our end users may not necessarily understand what a phishing attack is, where it's come from, how to spot it. So what we've designed is our awareness training modules. We have over 100 to choose from. When you come on board as a customer, you will get 14 in your first year. You'll retain those in your second year and get an additional 12 year on year. So what you'll notice here is the topics really start to vary from strong password to ransomware to sticking a USB in that you've just randomly found into a work laptop, and you can be really bespoke with the ones that you choose when you come on board. What you'll also notice is that these are very short modules. They're very short, clear, concise on the messaging. And the way that we're concise with that messaging is we use the angel and devil ideology. So we have human error, this is gentleman in the dressing gown, and sound judgment, which is this lady here, and the end user. So human error and sound judgment will be in a situation with the end user, telling them the correct thing and the incorrect thing to do. And at the end of that short module, your end users will be asked a question. If they get it correct, great, they'll be advised as to why that was correct and be able to move on. If it was incorrect, they'll be advised as to why that is, and you'll be able to report on that on the admin console. And that's really important to us because with a lot of awareness training, you can't actually measure the success of the modules. Whereas with our AdCon, it's purely designed to show the return on investment of deploying these modules out. You can start seeing your company risk score improving. You can start seeing the module completion improving, how many correct responses you're getting, and be able to dive into each of those modules here to get a better visibility. You can also start to automate a lot of those processes yourself. So rather than having to chase people that haven't done the campaigns, you can set up automatic reminders and start doing this a lot more automated on a monthly cadence, quarterly cadence, so on and so forth. However, the theory is really important for end users to start learning, but we also believe in practice to consolidate that learning. So what we've also got included in the awareness training modules is simulated phishing. So we have a plethora of pre-built templates, but what we've also got is a defanging tool. So should your organization have ever received an attack, we can turn that attack into a template for you to deploy to your end users. Because if an attacker has spent all that time, personalizing an attack to reach your end users, why not leverage that to your benefit to see who unfortunately would have fallen for that, so you can deploy the training there to increase their awareness. So also what we want to look into, aside from the security side of things, is your business continuity. For an average SMB, it can actually cost them over £8,000 in revenue should they experience an hour of downtime. So what we've got is a 100% financially backed SLA for continuity. As we know, Office 365, they have about a 99-98% SLA, so you are likely to experience downtime. They are very open with that. It's not us kind of calling them out at all. They do have a downtime detector app, for example. So what we do is ensure that you've got that failover plan, essentially. You can deploy our continuity in a plethora of different ways. The first is, the spontaneous downtime that you experience. So we will continually ping your environment. As soon as we believe that you're experiencing downtime, we can send you an SMS or an email to inform you of this and activate continuity automatically. The brilliance of our continuity tool is that it's integrated into Outlook. So your end users won't know any different. They will still be able to leverage Outlook, send and receive emails as usual, still have security policies. If you leverage our archiving, all those emails will still be archived whilst you're working offline. But as soon as we believe you're up and running again, we'll deactivate continuity and deduplicate the environment, because there would be a plethora of emails stuck here. So by doing that and moving back to the online model, again, it will be business as usual for your end users. So that's the first way. The second way that you can activate continuity is by using the Event Manager tool in the admin console. So this is brilliant for if you're doing a migration from on-prem to Office 365, for example, because you can really ensure that you're going to have business as usual during that time, so there isn't going to be any impact to your end users, so they continue to work. The last key area that I really wanted to focus on today surrounds our backup and recovery for email solution. So Mimecast used to be security and archiving, but where we've now got something called sync and recover, we've moved to that full backup and recovery model just for email. So what we do is we store your data at AES level 256 encryption. We store it in triplicate across 2 of our data centers in the correct geographic region to ensure that you're abiding by any data protection acts that you need to. With regards to that, if any of you are financial customers and you have to adhere to the likes of FINRA, please do let us know. We can let you know about our client compliance protector module that will be able to help you adhere to that. On top of this, we have 3 key areas that we focus on. One is the data management. So this is a professional service, which is completely optional to you, where we can do that legacy data migration. So say you've got data on Office 365, we can do that extraction and ingestion into the Mimecast archive for you. All you would have to do is just ask us if the current archiving solution you're using is a supported source, and we'll be able to tell you and be able to do that migration, so you have all that data in one place with ease of access to your end users. But also, we don't hold your data at ransom. So should you ever want to leave Mimecast or anything along those lines, we do have an extraction team that will be able to extract that data for you. On top of that, the admin tools are probably the most important when it comes to archiving. So as standard, we have a 99-year retention period. However, you can absolutely tailor that free of charge. I know a lot of our financial institutions, for example, again, they really focus on that 7-year. So we can tailor that down to your business needs. On top of that, we have an industry-leading safe search SLA of 7 seconds, not only for the admins, but also for end users. And I'll go through the Outlook integration and the end user capabilities in a moment. But also the sync and recover capabilities. So although we do the archiving real time, so as soon as the email hits the Mimecast cloud, as soon as the email leaves Mimecast, we'll archive it. What we also do is 6 times a day on top of that, we will sync with your environment to sync with your calendars, your folders, your tasks, your contacts, to do a more seamless recovery should you ever need to. Another big use case that we're finding, especially during Corona, where there is typically high turnover, is leveraging the sync and recover tool to help with new users. So say a project manager was leaving and they were working on a project and they put it all in one folder, an IT admin could sync with that folder and recover it into a new user's mailbox so they can just pick up where that other project manager had left off, for example. So there's a lot of smart, efficient, safe ways to do these things. And whenever you do them, you have a log of it on the admin console as well to ensure that you can report back to any governing body should you need to. To tie this all together is the end user tools. As I've mentioned throughout, efficiency and efficacy are our key drivers. So we want to give our end users safe autonomy over their day-to-day workings. So we do have the ability to integrate seamlessly with Outlook. With any iOS devices, for example, so if you've got a Mac, we do have a Mac app, so it doesn't quite integrate just yet, but we are working on that, which means that end users have full access to their archive, their own archive emails. The brilliance of this is that they cannot delete any of that and they cannot change the content of any of their archives. But should they ever want to reply to an email that's in an archive, say from 10 years ago, they can find that email within 7 seconds and respond to it like a normal trail should a project come up again. but also they can report on spam, block users. They have a lot more autonomy over the safety of your organization too. On top of that, we have the mobile application, so you can deploy that to your own devices, to work devices, to ensure that end users are sending and receiving emails safely. And also the web application. I don't know many customers that leverage this, but it is there if you need to. Majority of our customers leverage the Outlook integrated app, but the web app is also brilliant capability too. So that is the high-level overview of Mimecast, and hopefully you have an understanding off the back of this webinar of the cybersphere today and why it's so important to have a cyber resiliency solution. But I'll hand over Rosie now for us to go through any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ellie. That was brilliant. Yeah, so I guess we'll just head to the questions. I'll check if we've got any at the moment. If you do have anything, yeah, please don't hesitate. Send us a question in the little question box. I don't think we have anything at the moment, Ellie.
Perfect, no problem at all. Then I guess what we would do is we'd highly advise us to organise a secondary call with any of you that would be interested. I think off the back of webinars, what we really like to do is to ensure that the messaging that we've portrayed kind of fits with what you're expecting, so that we can maybe have a more bespoke conversation around your current security posture and your current cyber resiliency, and talk about how we can strengthen that for you. So please do drop down my email address and reach out to me directly. But I know Rosie and the Italic team would love to kind of speak to you on a one-to-one basis too, to get a better understanding of your priorities and how we can support you best.
So yeah, we will pick some attendee winners at random once this webinar's ended, and I will be in touch with you probably via email if you are a lucky winner. So we just have one last poll that I'd just like to share with you, and I'll launch that now. So it's just to see if you would like to receive any more information with regards to what we've gone through today with Ellie at Mimecast. So if you're happy to do so, if you could just pop in your response, that'd be brilliant. And thank you very much for attending the webinar with Ellie. We hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks all, speak soon.
Bye.